to talk about this evening is supplements. Now, if you start training, start changing your nutrition, and search for different ideas, different things through Google, Facebook, or Instagram, or whatever you might look for. Maybe you're looking for a workout, maybe you're looking for an answer to a question. Along the line, the algorithms built into Google and those other platforms will probably start then to show you adverts for supplement companies. That's how the world works these days. You search on a topic and these companies pay lots of money to Meta, as it is now, Facebook, whatever, to know about you and what you are interested in, and therefore can target you with advertisements. Also, you might be training in an environment where people are looking like they're drinking something from a shaker whilst they're working out, or in their changing rooms afterwards they are drinking a protein shake or something like that. And it makes you start to think, do I need to be doing these things? Should I be supplementing to improve the progress that I'm making, speed up the process, all these different things? Really, really common question, usually after a few months of training, and perfectly legitimate. Loads and loads of products out there. So if you go to a website such as Whey Protein, bulk powders, Optimum Nutrition, if you go into Home Bargains this time of year, my local B&M has just actually moved all the fitness products out because it's now on to springtime gardening, apparently. So you can't actually buy anything of the quite extensive range they had through January. January is the fitness month, clearly. There's loads of different products there. Now, when we talk about supplements, probably the main one that I get asked about is, do I need protein powder? Now, personally, I don't count protein powder as a supplement. I count it as a food source. Very versatile, doesn't have to be as a protein shake. You can start off real simple, add it to a smoothie. Talking to a chap last night about nutrition. I said, so what do you eat? I said, well, one of the simplest go-to things that I have in the morning when I'm in a rush, after boot camp or whatever it is, then I'll have protein powder, frozen berries, pop that into a blender, quick blend, boom, there we go. I've got a protein smoothie to start the day. So it can be used in multiple other ways. Mix it with yogurt, mix it with quark, if you can find that. I can't get it in Northern Ireland, bizarrely. And use it as an ingredient. You can use it in baking, and you can get a variety of different ones to suit different choices, in the sense of now you can get much better than a few years ago vegan proteins and things like that. For most people, a whey protein such as Impact Whey or Bulk Powders Whey, or whichever brand you find that you like the taste consistency of and can use and get quite regularly, is the best brand to get. And as I say, I don't count that as a supplement, not anymore, because it's such a versatile food source and such a good and easy way to ensure that you are getting 30 grams of protein at a time. Maybe if you have like a scoop and a half of most protein products is around about that. Particularly for ladies, that's probably a quarter of a way there to your protein each day. And sometimes, particularly when you're first changing your nutrition and changing your food choices, that's the hardest macro to make up, is the protein. Just because, particularly in our kind of British Western society, we're very focused on carbohydrates from around the world, obviously. Pasta, not British, but we eat plenty of it. That sort of thing, bread, cereal, all those sorts of things. And we've got to transition to increase the protein and work on the percentages that we're getting. As I say, using protein as a food source, just taking your regular cereal and mixing a scoop of protein with your milk before you put it on your cereal is going to change greatly the percentage of protein you're then getting from a normal breakfast that you've not had to change very much at all, other than you've added 20 grams of protein in there. So we're not talking about protein powder as a supplement. We're going to take that as a given, that if it's something that you use, you're using it as a food source. Okay, so we're talking about other supplements, which, as I say, go onto a website that specialises in supplements, go into some gyms that stock supplements as well. Go, as I say, into Home Bargains, tend to keep an aisle section of it. Even Sainsbury's, Boots, places like that. You're going to have to be able to buy different fitness supplements. And then also within, say, a protein bar might have a little label on it saying, and includes something like creatine, which I'm going to talk about. Or you go on to the drinks aisle, the sports drinks aisle, you go past the kind of usual carbohydrate-based sports drinks like your Lucozades, and then you go to your energy drink. You've got those as well. And then there's kind of like a new kind of category of fitness drinks coming out. One that I actually quite like, it's called NOCCO, N-O-C-C-O, no carbohydrates company. So basically, really low carbohydrate, really low sugar drink, but they include BCAAs in their drinks. That's kind of their USP, their unique selling point, is it's low carb and includes BCAAs. So there's these kind of supplements that you might have heard of knocking around, and it's a little bit of a minefield in a sense of what's beneficial, what's not beneficial, because some of these things are actually quite expensive to buy, and you might end by, say, a 500 gram or kilo bag, and it might actually last you quite a long time, which is a good thing. But at the same time, if you're spending, for instance, let's talk about BCAAs first, £35 on a bag of BCAAs, you want to really get a good benefit from that. Now, one of the specific questions I had this week was around BCAAs, and the short answer is they are not worth the money. What happens with supplement companies is they have a large development division, as in, what can we bring to the market? What can we develop to sell that is going to obviously attract more customers, get more business? Now, the way the companies would do that, particularly in the sports supplement field, is they'll be looking through scientific research for products that are being kind of tested in a kind of university level or above kind of experimental way. So it might be a study of, say, 25 people that train 3 times a week. We give them this supplement and see what the difference is in some aspect of their fitness related to that supplement. If it has a positive effect, then they might put some science behind it and say, we think that BCAAs, the components of BCAAs have increased the ability and the strength of these people that have been testing by X amount, and we think it's through this physiological mechanism. Now, that's what happens with all supplements. Now, keeping on the BCAAs example, is that that's been taken, some data's come out at some point through scientific research, people doing PhDs, that sort of thing, and it said there's going to be improvement if you use BCAAs. Now, BCAAs are made up of 3 different amino acids. It's leucine, isoleucine, and valine. And you might see with BCAAs, it tells you it's a ratio of 2 to 1 to 1, because there's 3 parts, 2 parts leucine, 1 part isoleucine, 1 part valine. Now, that's the common ratio that it's been used in. Now, the research has kind of gone full circle, and what they've kind of got to now is they've realised, actually, in terms of the mechanisms that they're trying to improve by including BCAAs in the diet, it's actually detrimental to more fundamental mechanisms of recovery and MPS, muscle protein synthesis. So actually, leucine inhibits the exact process you want to happen. So most people have heard that I take BCAAs during my workout, I'm getting those little kind of building blocks of amino acids in my system as I am doing my workout. That's going to be better for my recovery. It's actually going to have the opposite effect, which is why I say BCAAs are not worth the money. I have heard people kind of hear that information and go, well, I like the taste of the brand that I get. That's a very expensive way of having a gym flavoured drink. Buy some squash, buy a flavour of squash that you like for £1.50 for the bottle. That'll last you the same amount of time if you just used it in the gym, rather than 35 or so pounds on a bag of something that is having the opposite effect of what you're working towards. So that's one. Let's talk about the ones that do work though, before we kind of throw out any more examples that are not worth spending any money on, basically. One supplement that has been tested and studied and is actually now showing even more benefits than just the physical benefits they get is creatine monohydrate. There are, again, different varieties out there, in the sense of supplement companies are using some scientific data to say if you have creatine mixed with essentially sugar, you're going to get a faster uptake because of the way your body works post-workout with insulin spikes and all that sort of thing. Only really need the very basic creatine monohydrate. Roughly, it's going to be something like £8 to £10 for 500 grams. The bigger companies you can buy, especially if they've got a discount on, a whole kilo for around about £15. It has been tested and studied the longest of any supplement, just because it's probably one of the first ones that came out. The way creatine works is it's actually a naturally occurring substance in particularly red meat. Now, most of us these days don't eat anywhere near maybe the red meat level of our ancestors, which is understandable. Cost, environmental, being just aware of those different things. But creatine drives the creatine phosphate energy system. Now, the theories around why creatine is beneficial is that the creatine phosphate system is the very first bit of powerful energy you would use in the first few muscle contractions. So say you were going to sprint as fast as you can, that explosive set off and first few strides will be driven by the creatine phosphate system. Say you were going to do a set of just 3 squats, so it's really quite heavy, it's up at the top end of your range, you're working really hard, you're going to do 3 squats. The creatine phosphate system is what would drive that. Now, by supplementing with creatine, because we probably don't get enough from our usual food anymore, we are bringing that level up to an optimal level in the body. So all your muscle tissue can hold creatine phosphate ready to use. Phosphate part is part of the, it's going back to biology at school, ATP, adenosine triphosphate, and basically they're molecules that are broken to release energy for whatever you're doing, your muscle contractions. So the creatine phosphate system is creatine acting to drive that system really, really fast, really, really quick, really explosive power. Now, the idea being, if you've got more creatine in your system, that explosive power part can go on for a little bit longer, maybe 1 more repetition, maybe 5 more meters of your sprint. Therefore, on the other side of it, as your other energy systems kick in, your anaerobic and your aerobic, you have got more capacity within them to go that little bit further. More capacity means maybe more repetitions, means more speed, all that sort of thing, and you're going to make improvements in that way. Now, what they're also finding now with creatine phosphate is actually, with creatine as a supplement, it can also be beneficial for longer steady state activities. Also, they're finding benefits to neurologically, as in the brain takes a lot of our energy to make it work, and they're finding that it can be very, very beneficial for things like concentration, focus, even looking, they're now researching applications for degenerative muscle and neurological conditions. So fundamental, maybe, I would say, to everyone's overall health, and definitely in any sort of training, performance, movement-based activity, creatine is going to be a benefit. And as I say, compared to other supplements, really, really cheap, readily available, only need the most basic form, don't need any kind of special uptake boosters or any different ones. Creatine monohydrate, the most basic form, will do the job completely. Now, it used to be said that you need to load up on it when you first get it, like 5 days of having 4 times as much as you have on a regular dose. Don't even need to do that anymore. Just a case of introduce it into your daily intake. You don't even have to take it around training, although there's a possibility that uptake might be slightly better after training as your body is recovering, your muscles are getting glucose and glycogen back in. The creatine might actually absorb a bit more then, but it's actually just about that consistency of taking it every single day. It doesn't have to be training days or not, just keep taking between 5 and 10 grams, 1 or 2 scoops, and that depends on overall body size, how much you need, and away you go. There used to be a thing of creatine is bad for water retention, that being because to be absorbed, like glucose, we talked about that it has to be absorbed alongside some water, as in that's how it is, that's the state it's in the body. So some people might say they experience weight gain from having creatine. It's marginal. It's very marginal. If you're someone that hydrates well, and your body has got a good constant turnover of water, as in you're taking it in, it's going through your system, it's doing its job, you are passing back out what you don't need, you'll probably experience absolutely no difference from starting to supplement with creatine. Now, alongside creatine, there is another supplement called Betaalanine, and they've been found to work synergistically. That is, the benefit of creatine is enhanced by taking Betaalanine, and the benefit of Betaalanine is enhanced by having it with creatine as well. Betaalanine is, again, a part of the energy system, in the sense of it does support the energy system to work really well. Also, it's often put into things like pre-workouts, and I'll come on to them as a area of supplements in a minute. And it is the one that, if you've ever taken a pre-workout where you feel tingly, like where your skin is tighter on your body, like your forehead, across your nose, back of your hands, things like that, it might feel tingly. That means you've probably had just that little tiny bit too much of Betaalanine, because that's the sensation it has, because it's to do with the vasodilation of your blood vessels. It makes them open up slightly so more nutrients can pass quicker. It's also put into pre-workouts that marketed to give you a good pump, as in literally, like, remember Arnold Schwarzenegger getting that pump? It's going to draw blood and things into your muscles only by the fact that it's a vasodilator that opens up your blood vessels. So it's another one to consider if you are someone particularly that trains with weights 3, 4, 5 times a week. It's something I would definitely consider looking into. Now, actually, it's twice the price usually, roughly, of creatine, but you use half as much. So it only uses as much as it doesn't make you tingle. That you don't need to get that tingly sensation. The third one, and it's of 3 that I would recommend, is another supplement called citrulline malate, and that is a supplement that can help with lactic acid clearing during your workout. Now, it is a time dependent one. You want to take it roughly about half an hour before you train. So a lot of companies do include it in their pre-workouts. Most, other than a handful, don't put enough in. You need roughly between, depending on body size, 6, 8 to 10 grams for it to be effective. Most pre-workouts, which I'll say, we'll come and talk about those in a minute, maybe only including 2 or 3 grams, because it is an expensive supplement, and it's one that I have in the cupboard, and I will only use if I know I'm going to be doing a workout that's going to be longer than 45 minutes to an hour, particularly if it's going to be something, it's going to be a hard session, then I'll include that as well. So 3 supplements then: creatine, Betaalanine, citrulline malate. I've detailed all this out in a supplement guide that I've got, and I'll drop a link to that into the comments here as well, or if you email me, mark@mwfitness.net, I'm happy to send that to you directly. So those are the 3 that I'd recommend. Talked about pre-workouts. Often hear people saying, good to go, I've had my pre-workout. Most pre-workouts have some creatine in, probably Betaalanine, and they're probably slightly overdosed to Betaalanine because they want you to feel something. It's a supplement that is worth having, as we talked about, but they want you to feel like you've had your pre-workout. It's doing something. So they kind of often overdose it a little bit, so you do get that tingly sensation. Oh, my pre-workout must be working because I'll feel this happening. And then they often put in small amounts of other things and mega dose of caffeine, so you really get going. And caffeine, again, not a bad thing. For me personally, I would rather drink a strong black coffee and then get on with it, because I also don't want to be overdosing on caffeine, which will then put make my adrenal gland overactive for the time that I'm having the pre-workout or the excessive amount of caffeine, and then it might actually then start to impact my sleeping pattern. And I think that probably the thing that is least considered, by me included, when it comes to training and is the recovery aspect. Training is supposed to be a stimulus that we recover from. We're not actually getting, we're actually causing damage, micro damage to our muscles whilst we train. We're overexerting maybe our heart and lungs if we're doing something more cardio based. And actually the change, the benefit comes in the recovery. So if we're then having so much caffeine that we can't sleep well and all that sort of thing, then the recovery is actually going to be negatively impacted. So the very thing we have tried to do more of, as in train harder by having pre-workout with loads of caffeine, or drinking energy drinks or whatever before we work out, is then actually going to be negated by the fact we can't recover well afterwards. On to energy drinks. I know I've mentioned this before. Energy drinks and pre-workouts, a lot of them they put it literally around the can. Caffeine, B vitamins, not B vitamins, not a bad thing at all, they're fine. Taurine. Talked about taurine before. Research is coming out now, and I'm guessing if I was in the industry, I'd want to suppress it a little bit, because particularly Red Bull is marketed, literally the bulls are marketed off Taurus, related to taurine, which actually has a negative effect, has an opposite effect of how caffeine works. So you've got caffeine taking you up, you've got taurine at the same time in the same drink trying to pull you down, and taurine also, and higher levels of caffeine, also have a negative effect on the uptake of other supplements that you're taking at the same time. So it's about getting these things in the right balance. Me personally, there's nothing wrong with drinking an energy drink here and there, but it's having that understanding of actually it's got these things in that's going to take you up, and it's also got actually within the same product something working against it as well. So just being informed so you can make choices. Personally, I try and, if I'm going to have an energy drink, I'm going to have one that hasn't got taurine in. I don't see the point of having something that has caffeine in that I want to give me some more energy, give me that little boost for whatever activity it is. Having something in there that's also going to have it's bringing me straight down from that. In the same way, little slight tangent, Starbucks, Costa, all these places, became so much more popular. Your big drinks, you get your double shot of coffee in there, but these ones where you add lots of milk as well, that's basically having the same effect. Caffeine up, warm milk, bring you down. So what do you need to do? You need to go back again during the same day to have the drink for that little boost. It's genius marketing, really. Look at all these amazing drinks you can get that you never used to be able to get on the high street, but we're going to take you up a little bit and we're going to bring you down a bit further, so you need to come back again and buy another one. So just being informed. Also, you need to be thinking about, if you are working towards a calorie deficit, is 250, 300 calories worth it from just a drink, from a coffee shop, from whatever brand it is? It might well be. Do you know what? Nothing wrong with. Do you know what I really like? This is Costa Christmas hot chocolate, the chocolate orange one, with a shot of coffee in it. Amazing drink. Love it. That time, around Christmas time, maybe I have one or two just in that period, just because I really enjoy it. It's a treat, but it's keeping those things in the right place. So after supplements, we've then got another category of really supplements for health. So these are not necessarily, they're going to have a positive impact on your training, but also just for your general health. Supplement that I think is really worth considering taking, and we talked about this when we talked about the menstrual cycle, is a magnesium supplement. Magnesium bigluconate is a good version that's available from bulk powders. Also, I'd recommend Peak supplements as well. They do a great range of supplements for health. They've kind of expanded now because they realise that people are going to them for vitamins and things like that. That they do sell versions of Whey Protein and things like that. So they're kind of like a one-stop shop in the sense of a supplement place. But they originally started off doing much more of the minerals and vitamins-based things. So like magnesium. Magnesium, a great one, great for the immune system, great for your overall health, great for helping with sleep, and it's a mineral we used to get more of from vegetables, but with modern farming methods, quick turnover, reusing soil really quickly, the soil doesn't recover its magnesium level to be able to then, for it to be absorbed into the plants that are growing in it. So that's why it's worth considering supplementation. Sometimes and often magnesium is sold with zinc. There's an actual patented product called ZMA, Zinc Magnesium, together, and you can buy it from other places as not ZMA because it's not made by the same process, but it is essentially zinc and magnesium. Zinc, great one to have. Best advice for taking zinc is only to take zinc when your immune system is under pressure, when you're not feeling great, when you're already unwell. You don't necessarily need much extra zinc the rest of the time, because you can overdose on zinc quite easily. It can make you feel quite nauseous. It can work the other way as well, as in the down way, if you have too much of it. So it's one where you have to just be careful of the dosage and your tolerance to it, not necessarily one to take all the time. Another great supplement to consider is your omega oils. Now I say omega oils and let's skip out the word fish because you don't necessarily have to take a fish oil. There's a product out there called Udo's oil, which is a plant-based oil really designed for health and fitness. It comes from flaxseed and various different other seeds. The whole ingredient profile is on the Udo's oil, UDOS. Search for it on Google. It's on their website. So it's plant-based and it's got a ratio, the right ratio of omega oils 3, 6 and 9. So you're not just getting a high dose of omega-3 oils, which is what a lot of cheaper basic fish oil, cod liver oil type supplements will have. You've got these other ones as well. So it's getting those nicely into the right ratio within your overall nutrition, and the Udo's oil is definitely one to consider. Certainly other products out there that will help with that as well. And overall then, that is my recommendations for supplementation. Personally been using a supplement called niacin recently. If you have a combined vitamin, then niacin will probably be in there. It's really good for your immune system as well. And also just through the last couple of years, particularly supplementing more with vitamin D because of its positive impact on the immune system for obvious reasons. And it's one actually just consider keep it on taking as well. So supplements for performance, supplements for health, and it's a case really, like most things, of keeping it simple and not get drawn into the shiny new thing or a little bit of that marketing spiel. And don't get me wrong, there'll be people out there that you'll come across, you'll meet in the gym, and they'll say, I took this and it did X, Y, and Z. They might be right, and scientific research is usually based off hypothesis, which means someone's idea. But it doesn't mean, so it could be that that product needs more research, or it could mean that it's almost like a placebo effect. So I started taking, so I'm just going to throw some out there, EAAs, essential amino acids, instead of BCAAs while I was training. So it's got a larger profile. Essential amino acids means the 9 essential amino acids. Yeah, that might have had a positive effect. But at the same time, for most people, when you spend money on supplements, you spend money on the gym, maybe you spend money on a personal trainer, you're doing your nutrition right. Was it the other things that had the positive impact that you're then attributing to this minor part of what you did? That's a possibility. So some of these things might well have a positive benefit, but things like essential amino acids, if you have a varied balanced diet, including around about 30% protein of your overall calories, you're getting enough amino acids that way. So rather than spending more money on supplements, but better to kind of use that towards your overall nutrition than spending lots on extra supplements. As I said, I've got a supplement guide, details this in just a written format that's easier to look at than it is to listen to me, and happy to send you that. So look out for that wherever this kind of talk is posted, or you can email me, mark@mwfitness.net. As always then, any questions about anything health and fitness, particularly after this episode, after this talk about supplements, please give me a shout the usual way through my email or through the social media channels. Thank you for listening to the Always Moving Forward podcast. You can find more information about MW Fitness at www.mwfitness.net, and all our links to social media are there too.